Hey, John Ty here, and welcome to today's broadcast from the Self-Publishing Summit. Our guest today founded Filament Publishing 15 years ago with a mission to help authors both publish their books and build successful businesses around them. And in 2012, he founded AuthorCraft, a professional network for authors that helps them make the connections they need to bring their books to market, as well as to learn the social media and marketing skills today's authors need in order to succeed. The title of his presentation is Opportunities for Authors in the New Publishing Landscape. And those opportunities are many and varied. And that's why we're so lucky to have him, as he's a true expert in this area. Our guest today, Chris Day. Chris, welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit.
Thank you, John. Delighted to be here.
Great to have you on. So I've given that little bit of an intro there. Why don't you, before we get into the main part of the presentation, just tell us a little bit about your background, because I want people to understand that you've got a tremendous experience in the publishing industry. You've got insights from the traditional publishing side,
Sure.
the self-publishing side, and in between. So give us a little bit of background, and then we'll go into the main part of the
Yeah, sure.
presentation.
One thing that concerns me slightly, of course, you describe me as an expert, and of course, in my book, an ex is a has-been, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. So I probably resemble both of those, but nevertheless, I absolutely love publishing, and I was very fortunate to spend some time at the head office of Encyclopaedia Britannica, who are still one of the most uh, uh, innovative publishers that you could wish to be a part of. And when I was with them, of course, Britannica was sold in 32 volumes around the world, and a
I
most wonderful
remember.
publication. Yeah, but incredibly, Britannica is still very much at the forefront of information and knowledge disposal, and it has just morphed into new routes to market. And I was there when they brought out the very first online encyclopedia. It was called Compton's Multimedia, and it was in fact on a disc rather than online. And they were pushing the technical boundaries all the time, and discovering new routes to market, and being hugely imaginative with their marketing. And all of those things is what authors today need to be good at. And it's a completely different mindset. When I first started Filament in 1999, the landscape for publishing then was very, very different. It's incredible how much has happened in a comparatively short space of time. And in those days, you really had two choices. There was either vanity publishing, or you found a publisher willing to take you on, who would take your manuscript, run away with it, a check would appear, and you were excluded completely from the process from then on. And so there's generations of authors who have not needed to know how to market, who have not needed to build a following, who have not needed to do all the things that today's authors need to do. And there's still a residual mindset about that whole 19th century publishing model, where everybody else is going to do it for me, and all I have to do is to write the book, sit back, and wait for the checks to appear. And unfortunately, the world today, I say unfortunately because fortunately in many respects there's so much more freedom now available to authors, but there's also so much more confusion. And in that period of 16 years, we've seen the growth of Amazon, for example, who have revolutionized in many ways the whole publishing world. And I have to say, if Amazon hadn't done it, somebody else would have done it.
Yes.
Because the whole area of technology and how it's impacted on the way people do things, the way people buy things. And for example, one of my authors is Bill Grimsey, who has written an incredible book about the changes in the high street. And if we think there are changes in the world of publishing, changes on the high street are absolutely phenomenal. And everybody's blaming the supermarkets and blaming the out-of-town shopping malls and blaming everybody except themselves. And the reality is our shopping habits have changed. And as a result, the face of the high street has changed. And the same is happening very much in the world of publishing. The way we buy books, the way we buy information is changed dramatically. But the incredible thing that Amazon has helped to achieve is the fact that today we are buying more books now than we've ever bought before. However, we're buying them in different ways, from different places, and in different formats. And that's really created a whole raft of new opportunities. So as we've grown and developed Filament, we've been trying to look for that middle way. We have not and never would be vanity publishers. We are mainstream insofar as we do publish books in the traditional 19th century model. However, where my passion is working with authors who are excited and enthused about their subject matter, want to share it with the world, and want to build a business around it. It's one thing giving it away and having a pile of books for friends. It's another thing entirely to build a business around your book and for the book to open doors for you. And now you can use a book strategically to achieve many things which cannot be achieved really in any other way. So we've watched those changes, watched the technology platforms, looked at the growth of self-publishing, looked at the growth of POD and all of those platforms. There is no end of choice now for authors, but I think the point has come where for a new author coming in from scratch and trying to look at the marketplace and look at what is in his best interests, it's very, very confusing. And so if you look at, and I'm sorry, I'm not even giving you a chance to interrupt me.
No, this is very interesting. I'm taking notes. I'm scribbling away. People can't see me because you're on camera, but I'm scribbling away.
Okay, I will ask you questions later. But you know, the way people are buying books is key to what authors now need to know how to do to become self-sufficient and build a self-contained business. And you know, nowadays they can be found by anyone in the world in 3 clicks, looking for what it is that they have, and that's never happened before. And the whole thing is to be aware of what you can do yourself, and what and really to think of your book as a product, not as a sort of Dickensian item that has to go through particular processes and you know, to be recognized for what it is. That's no longer the case. If you've got something of value and you want to share it, you can now do that and make a good business around that, providing you understand the options that are open to you. Can I take a breath now?
Yes, yes. Let me change cameras. I'm the director as well here today. So that's great. And something I want to pull out before we. There's lots of things I want to ask you about, but the sort of distinction you made between the old publishing model and the new one, and I've got here for the old model, you've got vanity publishing versus the sort of traditional publishing model where the author was largely excluded from the process. And I know the vanity publishing thing where I've seen, not something I did myself, but I've seen somebody with a garage full of boxes, you know, literally thousands of books costing them, this is a friend over in the States, costing them thousands and thousands of dollars. And of course, POD, print on demand, you mentioned. I mean, it's so efficient now that you can have a single copy printed. You no need to get hundreds of books done at once. The alternative that you talked about, a traditional publisher, where it was very slow to come to market, 18 months wouldn't be untypical at all. And also, you as the author gave away a lot of control. And it's not to say that there aren't still advantages with going down that traditional route if it's appropriate for your particular book. But
Mm.
what we've got now is, I think, tremendous freedom.
Mm.
We can bring our books to market very, very quickly, and as you say, multiple ways of doing that. And we, as the author, we have control in a way that and freedom that we never ever had before.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented, and so yes, there is a bit of confusion. You touched on that
Mm.
comes with that. That's the downside, but certainly for anybody who's listening who's just starting out, don't feel like you have to master all of these things at once. You might start with an ebook or a Kindle book, and then add a physical book, or perhaps add an audio book after that, and gradually develop your offerings. You talked about
Mm. Yeah.
different ways to market and different offerings. So I just wanted to pull that out, because I
Mm.
think we're very, very lucky. I keep going on about this point on other presentations. So I think we live at a very special time. We're
Mm.
tremendously lucky to have these opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, so what to talk about first? You mentioned, let's deal with the business side,
Mm.
perhaps first, and then move on to the publishing side and the
Yeah.
different models there. And you talked about the importance of using a book strategically,
Yeah.
and again, there's all sorts of things that can spin off from a book.
Mm. Yeah.
So perhaps you could talk to us a little bit about that. Explain what you mean by strategic, and then give us some examples of how an author might do that.
Yeah. Obviously there are many different genres of books, and whilst there are books that I particularly gravitate to in our world, I don't want anybody to feel excluded. So
No, and
uh,
we've got fiction and non-fiction authors listening. Yeah.
indeed. So, but I believe the same principles apply no matter what the genre is. You've got to look at the whole project as a business, and there are some man traps out there waiting to swallow you up. Um, you mentioned print on demand as a new innovation, and it's a wonderful innovation. It means that people can have a short number of books, can test out the market, can maybe
Mm.
make changes and update it and put it out again. And the book's evolving as they're getting feedback and as they're including new reviews in the next edition of their book. So print on demand is a facility that's made the marketplace accessible, and I love it to bits. But you do have to be careful, because if you're thinking of your book as a business, one of the things that a business needs to make is a profit. And allow me to share a horror story with you
Mm.
of a wonderful author who I was doing some coaching with. And they were telling me with great pride about what they'd managed to achieve themselves. And they had successfully done their book layout, and it was lovely. And they'd created a book, and they had done very short runs of the book. And they were selling the book through the book trade, and they were selling it online. Now, as you know, the book trade, if you're selling through large online retailers, you will expect to be giving them a discount for them to do that, quite rightly. But the discount they were offering was a 60% discount. They were getting 40% back. They were selling their book at £10, so they were getting £4 back. But they were printing their book in short runs. It was a big book. There was I think 300 pages, and the cost for printing those very short runs, I think, was about £4.50. So in fact, every book they were selling was costing them 50 pence, and
Yeah.
they hadn't realised that. And my heart went out to them when I saw their face drop completely. So you've got to look at this as a business, and just picking up on that little example, the learning point for that is that however you are producing your book, the actual cost of printing needs to be below 20% of the cover price if all the margins are to work from that point. If it's more
Okay.
than that, the only person that's going to be squeezed is the author. everybody else will in the food chain will get fed before the author, and the author is then left with crumbs, and that hurts and upsets me. And one of the things that we'll be talking about later as well is to look at those routes to market that are going to make vastly more money for the author than going through the traditional routes through the trade, which costs obviously a significant discount to achieve those sales.
Well, it's a good example. You don't need to be a top mathematician to see the flaw in selling a book for less than you're actually getting back for it. And so, okay, so you've got to have your business hat on, is key. But I know you work with authors, and you have a focus on building a business around that.
Yeah.
So can you talk about, we will come to routes to market and publishing options as well. But before we get on to that, chat to us a little bit about the business building and some of those opportunities, the things that can spin off from being a published author.
And it's important that you design all of these in from the word go, almost before you've written your book. You need to know why you're writing your book. In the 1930s, Rudyard Kipling wrote a wonderful story, How the Elephant Got Its Trunk. And within that book, and I do commend it to you, is a wonderful little stanza. I keep, is it 6 good men and true who have taught me all I knew. Their names are where and what and when and how and why and who. In fact, that's 7, which shows you what my mathematical skills. Or was it 6? No, it was 6. Yes, I got it right. And it's understanding the why. Why do you want to bring your book to market? What do you want to achieve by that? What doors do you want your book to open for you? Where do you want your book to position you in the marketplace? Now, whether you're a fiction author, a children's author, a non-fiction author, whatever genre you're writing in, you've got to understand what is driving you to do this and what you want to get out of it, and where you want to be in a year's time as a result of publishing your book. And so sometimes getting clarity on that is the first thing that any author should do, because everything then goes after that. So if you're a fiction author and you want to achieve good sales, you want to reach people who are interested in that genre, then you need to be found by people who are looking for that. It's not enough to put it onto a huge bookseller and hope that people will find it. You've got to create demand for it. You've got to be an interesting person. And if you look at some of the blogs of some of the top authors, they're not talking about their books. They're talking about their own likes and dislikes and quirks and things that annoy them and things that amuse them, and they're becoming an interesting person who you want to know more about, who you want to know what they're writing about, and authors that are achieving prominence in the marketplace are there for their writing, obviously, and what they've achieved, but also because there's a following, and they are interesting people, and you want to know where the story came from, and what inspired them. And
that's a great point.
Yeah, so if you're a fiction author, that's what people are interested in. If you've created a fiction world, people are interested in that world. Look at, Discworld is very much in the news at the moment.
I was just thinking of Terry Pratchett,
Yes, and it's lovely to have a name check for such a wonderful talent as his, and he's sorely missed. But his world created, there were so many facets and so many layers to that. It was fascinating, and so the creator of that world is equally fascinating. So if you're a fiction author, you've got to put a lot of effort into being an interesting person. And I would use short stories as a currency. You can
Mm.
buy things with short stories. You can buy attention. You can help to build a following. Um, and short stories whet people's appetite. You can amuse them, you can scare them, you can intrigue them, and they want to find more about the author.
Mm.
And there are many websites, there are many publications that love short stories. And if somebody's enjoyed a short story, they'll want to find out more about that author. So, and also as part of your business model as a fiction writer, yeah, you want to be doing the public speaking, and you want to be an interesting person that people want to come and invite you to an event to talk to their members, to talk to a group. So part of your business model is the public speaking and selling books at the back and driving people into your loop so that you can develop a relationship with them, tempt them with little snippets from stories that are coming, and just build that following. An author's best friend is social media, and it's not enough to do the occasional tweet. It's not enough to do the occasional blog. It's not enough to just have a Facebook account. You've got to use all of them together in tandem, supporting each other strategically to drive traffic to your site. And I was listening to Anthony Welfare the other day, who's an expert in social media. His new book is called Social Media Essentials for Authors, and
Okay.
he's got a wonderful background in retail. He advises large companies on the high street, the Marks and Spencers and Currys and Dixons and Homebases of this world, on their social media strategy. He knows his stuff, and his book helps to just make the case for joining the dots, as you might say, and he starts with his blog. So he does, a good 500,000 word blog where he develops a concept. He then takes an extract from that blog and then uses that on Facebook, and maybe adds a picture, and then a link back to the blog to get people back to his website. He then takes a smaller extract and puts that on Twitter, and then another link to get that back to the blog. So all of a sudden, everything is joined up, supporting each other, and there are plenty of other platforms. My
Mm.
personal preference is to really use YouTube to great effect.
Yeah.
But it's all down to doing everything for a purpose in a strategic manner, and not piecemeal, and not when you feel like it, but in a structured way. Most authors are doing all of this stuff, but they're not doing it enough. They're not doing it consistently. They don't have a theme running through it, and they don't have an end objective in mind. Um, and I would suggest that one of those huge end objectives is to get people eventually through social media and onto your own email lists, whether you're using Constant Contact, Aweber, MailChimp, Confusionsoft, or I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Whatever platform you're using to manage your emails, and to get people into that in order to develop a relationship, not to just sell to them, but
Yeah.
to give them a chance to follow you, to be given little treats, and then giving them a heads up on things that are coming their way that they'll be interested in because they've opted in to receiving that information. So
Yeah.
all of that applies to obviously a fiction author. My personal passion is non-fiction. And with non-fiction, you've got a far clearer business model And the book, if you are an existing public speaker, if you're an expert in your space, the book is even more powerful to giving you that positioning in the marketplace that nothing else will do.
Mm.
There's no ebook in creation that will give you the same kudos as having a nicely printed, properly presented, good book, which demonstrates that you know your stuff, you're an expert in your field, you don't you take your subject too serious, subject very seriously. You don't take yourself too seriously,
Mm.
and you share things with a light touch without lecturing and being overly academic. And a book like that can make a huge difference, especially in a marketplace where there are a number of other people in your space. If there's only one who is that expert, who's got the book out there, and because of the book is being interviewed by the media, and whose opinion is being sought, who's doing public speaking on the back of the book, you've got a far more powerful business model there, where the book is key to achieving it.
Excellent, good. And I love it's almost like a funnel you gave us there. Let me just switch cameras. Um, yeah, so starting up the blog post and taking extracts from that and putting it onto social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And I've got a friend who talks about random acts of marketing, which I think is what you were sort of alluding to there, where people don't have a sort of a system, and so making sure you do it systematically on a consistent basis, and then from there getting people really, you have the blog post, you have the extracts going out on social media, that gets people back to your blog. You then get them onto your email list with some sort of free offer, some sort of bonus. Build the relationship, give them the heads up as the next thing's coming out or whatever it is, and of course you generate sales as a result of that and the relationship that you've built. So great. And so what I'd like to do now, Chris, is move on to the routes to market. Well, yeah, the routes to market. Because we've got traditional publishing, we've got self-publishing on the one hand, and then there's a whole area in the middle. And so, can you talk to us about that and what people's options are?
Yeah, and I believe that authors got far more options than they probably realize.
Yeah.
It's very tempting to look at the offerings that are available to an author, and to put all their eggs in one basket. And in fact, there are many platforms that actively encourage you to give them exclusive access, to be the one source for your book. And with great respect, I don't think that's necessarily in the author's best interest. And I think having all your eggs in one basket cuts down your options, and it cuts down your routes to market. It absolutely cuts down your income. And the routes to market that I believe are the first ones that an author should look at, are the routes that they control themselves. Those routes to market, they are the retailer, as well as being the author, as well as being the publisher. And because of that, all of those margins go to the author. So the first place to sell your book is your website, and you need to make that transaction yourself. And I would encourage authors not to take the easy option of having gone to all the trouble of attracting traffic to their site, to then put a link to somewhere else for them to buy it from a retailer. And without using any names, I think to then, having got the traffic, and it costs you money to get people to visit your site, to then say, well, thanks for coming, go and buy it somewhere else, and and let them take the lion's share of the profit. So my first plea would be, if you're going to sell the book from your own website, do so and be the retailer yourself. it doesn't take a complicated shopping cart to sell a book. It just needs PayPal or any one of those payment gateways, which can easily put a button on your site. And the big advantage is the money goes straight then into your account immediately. What's not to like?
Yeah, there's a
um,
2 month wait with Amazon, so yeah.
well, you may think that, but I couldn't possibly comment. But making the transaction yourself. But there is a problem. And the problem is that if your book is available elsewhere as well, you're selling it from your website, but other retailers have it. You're now in a dangerous position in that everybody else is able to undercut you. If you go online to search for a book, you'll see all sorts of retailers selling it at stupidly low prices.
Mm.
All of those books are being sourced from the same place, but they're just choosing strategically to play the price game. So you can never win by discounting. And I would
No,
say
it's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
it
Discounting.
is, yeah. And what you're saying is if you discount your own book on your own website, you're saying, well, actually, I don't think it's worth it.
Mm.
I think I've overpriced it, which is totally the wrong message. So always, always, always sell it at full price.
Mm.
But strategically, to give yourself an edge over everybody else by saying, buy the book direct from the author today, and I will give you this added value package, this extra download, this podcast, this PDF, this companion volume, this audio, whatever it might be, worth another £30. So buy the book from me at full retail price, and I will give you all of this. Now, if somebody's interested in you as an author and your content, why wouldn't they want additional material? So all of a sudden, you've got an edge over everybody else, who's the only tool that they've got in their toolbox is discounting. But you have got added value. You're the
Yeah, and
author.
can I just add in there that if you're doing that, which I think is a great idea to do, you can stress that it's exclusive. You can make sure that whatever it is not available anywhere else.
Yes.
Which immediately creates scarcity, which we know is a buying trigger.
Yeah.
And so that's I mean that's great. So yeah, charge full price and get that by giving those bonuses.
Yeah. So that is your first and most important route to market, and everything you do should be pointing people to your website. Now you do have other routes to market, and of course we spoke earlier briefly about events, and having books on sale at your events. Obviously is a very profitable thing. You are the retailer, you're getting the full retail margin. Selling the book as an audio is also something you can sell direct from your website. You don't need to go through third-party retailers to achieve that. It's just an MP3 file rather. So there's nothing complicated about that. People, I believe, when they buy a book, want to buy it in the format of their choice. So, for example, when somebody first hears about a book, that is a very precious moment. And it may well be that they travel to work by car every day, and their preferred form of reading a book is to have it on an audio CD. If they can't get the book that they're looking for as an audio CD, they won't buy it in a different format. They'll buy another book in the format that they want.
Yeah.
So that's a huge learning point, that whenever you launch your book, personally, my advice would be to launch it in all its different formats simultaneously. Just live dangerously. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Because it's the people that you're going to attract have got different preferences, and if you can meet those preferences, so that it's not a question of shall I buy it or shan't I. It's which of the formats am I going to buy it in. I know there are many different viewpoints on that, but if you're going to have the courage to publish a book, don't tiptoe into the marketplace. Don't just stick it onto one electronic format and step back and hope something happens. Just go for it. Have the have the electronic version, the audio version, the paperback version. You may have repurposed it as an online open learning course, for example. Some people love to have it a little module at a time with other media. Don't assume that everybody can their preferred media is reading it off the page. Some people would like it as a multimedia module, and with the new HTML5, you can now create all sorts of rich media environments for an ebook, and once we get a common platform that they can all play on, maybe those will take off.
Yeah, and something else to look forward to.
Yeah, and what's holding them back is the lack of a consistent customer experience on all platforms. So I'm sure not far around the corner. But having all of those versions, looking also at strategic partnerships and joint ventures. If you've got a book that is of particular interest to people in a number of professions, you can maybe approach the professional body with Dee Blick's book, the Ultimate Small Business Marketing book, which has been up in the top 3 of Amazon for the last 3 years. An incredibly popular book, and because her book is very relevant to people in the field of marketing, she did a joint venture with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and they promoted it to their members. She is a fellow, needless to say, and her book went to their members right across the world, and it was a route to market that was good for them, good for their members, very good for the author, and so. With every book, those routes that you can control and that you can do joint ventures with other people are also going to be massively more popular than putting it through the trade. So I would urge authors to look at those routes first of all before saying, well, here we are. Just take it and send me whatever's left after everybody else has been fed. If you want the book to give you a proper return for all of the effort, all of the energy, all of the time, all of the agony, all of those nocturnal cups of coffee that you had to drink in order to get this thing out, you deserve a reward. And I'm passionate that authors get paid what they're due, and get paid for the effort that they put in, and the industry is not geared up to do that. The industry is a big, huge trundling machine, and there's a lot of costs involved. There's a lot of processes that, absolutely need to be paid for. But you can cut through all of those by selling direct. And now with search engine technology, with all of the SEO that you can build into your own website, with the ease that you can now be found for the solutions that you offer via YouTube, and how you can get people through that to your landing page and into your loop, and to become customers of your intellectual property in all its formats. You can bypass all of that huge trundling machine and build a really successful business for yourself around your knowledge, and by dealing direct. And I think that is something which today's author can do better now than anybody's been able to do in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a point there that there's a lot of people taking a slice of the pie before you as the author get whatever's left over if you go down the purely traditional route, but more ways of getting to market directly than ever before, and really keeping almost all of that profit potentially. And you mentioned, I know you're a fan of YouTube. Could you touch on some of the strategies you use with YouTube specifically? Because I think you've had some good results there.
Yeah, and there are many great things about YouTube. One is it's part of the Google empire,
Mm,
which means that if you're intelligent in the way that you populate your clips with keywords and descriptions, those will very often shoot to the top of a search in Google. You can bypass all of the other sites, and if you've got a video that's absolutely relevant to your search inquiry, it'll go to the top of the page. What's not to like? and so, but The way I would use YouTube is and forgive me talking more at this point about non-fiction than fiction. But if it's non-fiction, if you've got a book out there that helps people get clarity on a particular issue, on a particular process, on a particular subject that they want to learn about, on a particular problem that they may have, then my advice would be to put up a series of short 3 or 4 minute videos addressing a series of individual problems, so
mm,
that if somebody's searching for how do I do X, Y, and Z, that is what that video is all about. And it's short. It absolutely delivers the information that they ask for. You don't hold back in any way. You give them what they're looking for, and instantly you're positioning yourself in that expert space. So they know you know your stuff. You then offer them a knowledge gift, and that could be a simple PDF ebook, which just develops what you've said in the clip and gives them something to refer to. What a nice thing to do. So you point them in the direction of your landing page, and get them into your loop, deliver the knowledge gift, and now you've got a chance to build that relationship. And The way you use email marketing, I think, is crucial to its effectiveness, and it's all down to the attitude you bring to it. I've
mm.
seen so many people use it badly simply by thinking of it as a sales platform rather than a relationship building platform.
Yeah,
And
very much so.
uh, and One little tweak that you can do,
Mhm.
if you've got a series of videos on specific problems, and all of those problems may be covered in a particular book, but if you've got people that have um, watched the clip and then gone onto a landing page because they're interested in that one subject only, you can have a list on your email marketing system devoted to people with that single interest, um, and have another list devoted to another interest, so that when you're following up, you can be very, very specific in your follow-up information. I mean, the number of times that I have willingly signed up to a list, purely because it offered information on one particular topic. But
Mm,
what I then received was a general newsletter with all sorts of other stuff
mm,
that was not relevant. And the
yeah.
key to successful email marketing is relevance and topicality, and just respect of the needs of the person. And if you respect them and are delivering what they've identified that they're really interested in, and you do so in a professional and friendly manner, people will stay with you. And there are email lists and newsletters that I get every month that I look forward to, because they're relevant, they respect me, and they're giving me information that is of value. And if you can deliver on that, starting at YouTube, because that is your first filter.
Mm.
It's People have gone to a particular clip because it delivered on a particular need, and then if you develop that and be very targeted in what happens next, you will develop that relationship.
Yeah, and just to pick up on you made the point that Google owns YouTube, of course, as we know, and so really they're the first and second largest search engines in the world, and people go to Google to search for problems, but they also go to YouTube to search for the same thing, how-to demonstrational type videos. So tremendous opportunities there. First of all, to get found directly if somebody's searching on YouTube, but also to rank well in Google search if somebody's searching on Google. And if they see a video thumbnail in the results feed, you know, more chance of them clicking on that, and so you sort of get two bites of the cherry, if you like. So that's great. And in the time we've got left, Chris, can you chat a little bit about partnership publishing?
Sure.
And sort of options that people have got there, how that works.
Yeah. Self-publishing has revolutionized the industry. It's given people freedoms to do things that they could never have hoped for in the past. But it's so disappointing to see books which have huge potential, which are well written, well crafted, beautifully done, not achieve their full potential because the author wasn't aware of some of the links in the supply chain. And you know, it's there are it is you know, I'm not saying that there's any smoke and mirrors involved. It's a simple process, but you've got to know what that process is. And whilst there is any amount of data on you know, that you can search for and find out information about each process. And if you go on Wikipedia, I choose my words advisedly. You know, there's nothing that you cannot find out information from, but applied knowledge is not what you get. And you know, it's knowing those systems and applying those processes to a specific project. No two books are the same. No two projects are the same. No two authors' knowledge and skill sets are the same. And the thing that I think partnership publishing achieves is when a publisher and an author are working together in partnership, they can achieve something together that neither of them can do on their own. The author can bring a range of skills to the party, and there are some tasks that they are the best person in the universe to do. And to abdicate those to somebody else for them to do them worse makes no sense at all. So so going to so buying a package of services, half of which you know how to do, could do, and should do, and but paying for something that you don't need is you know, a wasted opportunity. But true partnership publishing, where the both parties are playing to their strengths, and with the publisher using their knowledge of the supply chain, using their knowledge of distribution channels, understanding the margins, helping to get the best for the author. The author is the best person to be blogging and social media and building a following. The publisher needs to be giving them the tools to do that, and giving them help, support, and going into places that they don't know how to get into, getting the advanced information sheet out there to the book buyers, ensuring that the full entries are on the ISBN database, making sure that when you're doing an electronic version of the book, you don't just think there's only one in the world. There is not. There are numerous versions, and your ebook conversion has to include you know, the EPUB versions and MOBI and PDF, and you know, and every permutation. And there are well, nearly 100 different retailers who specialize in being data warehouses for ebooks. So don't put your eggs in one basket. And the publisher will say, well, we can get this into Japan, we can get it into the Middle East, we can get it through these distributors into those outlets. So there's specialist knowledge that the publisher can bring to bear. And but it's working together. It's not a them and us. And so often, you know, it's still the case that an author will hand over a manuscript and have no input, and will accept accept whatever's given. And I've had authors asking about, well, what's the quality of a going to be like? And I said, well, you design that in right from the beginning. You choose the paper. You don't have to have 80 GSM book wove. You can have 150 GSM silk, coated silk. You can have a nice paper. And if you're printing it through proper trade channels rather than going through the consumer facing conveyor belt printers, where you will pay more, with a
Mm.
proper trade printer you will pay less but be able to afford far better quality. And having a publisher that understands the specification, they can make your book look stunning.
Mm.
You can have not only different laminations, you can have spot UV. That's the varnish varnish that can pick out different elements of the design. You can have different thicknesses of card. You can have flaps. You can have all sorts of
Mm.
interesting and exotic finishes. And why not?
Yeah.
And if you do it properly, and you're working with somebody that understands what's possible and can show you examples, then you'll achieve something, I think, which is far more profitable for the author, and your reach will be far greater.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's very exciting, isn't it? Because, as you say, fantastic public study again, fantastic opportunities with pure self-publishing, but working with somebody like yourself, like Filament Publishing, to do something like this, and there are certain things which do require really quite specialist knowledge, and you say things like being able to get access to higher quality printed books at a lower price, and we're going right back now to keeping that margin or the printing cost down to 20% or less that you were talking about earlier. I mean, that's tremendous, and it's something that you wouldn't necessarily have access to as a self-published author without that. So, I mean, that leads us nicely into, before we finish things up, asking you a little bit about Filament Publishing, what it is you do, and how can people follow up with you if they want to find out more about your services?
Sure. I mean, I so love what I do. I'm hugely privileged to work with authors. Every author is passionate about their subject, and it doesn't matter what the subject is. If somebody's passionate, you want to hear more. And enthusiasm is a great and very positive quality. And so for me, working with positive people who want to share. Authors are amazing people, and where we really love it is when we can work closely together. And but it's not just about publishing the book. Publishing the book is a vital and important element, but it's also giving that other support in helping authors to craft a business around it, to understand those what it is that they don't know, what it is that they need to achieve, that they need help with, and putting them in touch with other experts. That was one of the reasons that I founded Authorcraft, which is
Yeah.
the professional network for authors. And at the moment, every month in London, we have an event where authors can mix and mingle with each other and share their journeys and learn from each other. We have authors talking about the problems that they experienced, and what they learnt, and sharing that with other authors. So it's a lonely job being an author. You're
Yeah.
locked in a darkened room, and with the rest of the family trying to keep the dog quiet, and to be able to mix with other people, ask questions, and to get that support is so important. So we recognise that at Filament, and help to link people together, and help to give them support to understand what their business, what their book can achieve for them, and help to train them on all the tools and all the processes that they need to be successful and self-sufficient as a business in the future.
Great, fantastic. So, before I round up, give us an address so that people can. can
Sure.
actually find
Okay.
well, both autographed and filament publishing?
Okay. Filament publishing, filament as in light bulbs. People say,
Well,
does
we
it stop?
yes, got it
Yeah.
just over your shoulder there. Yeah.
Okay. Apologize. Yeah. So, yeah, well, subtle than ever, I mean, never miss a trick,
That's all part of the marketing process. Yeah.
But filamentpublishing.com will find us, and authorcraft.co.uk. And everything you wanted to know but were afraid to ask. We're delighted to hear from people, delighted to answer questions. We're hugely approachable, and I'm probably going to kick myself for having said that, but I do genuinely mean it. We love talking to people, helping them on their way. Whether they're a match for us or not is not relevant. It's I love to help authors. If there's something we can do, delighted. If there's something we can point them in the direction of other people that they can help them, equally delighted. So it's an exciting world, and we want to help people get the most out of it.
Well, Chris, it's been a lot of fun, and your passion and enthusiasm really comes through. It's very, very clear that you really enjoy what you do, and you genuinely do enjoy helping authors. So that's fantastic. And I want to say, again, two big thank yous. One, first of all, for coming on the Self-Publishing Summit. I appreciate that. And secondly, for giving us so many great insights. And I love that you've got this knowledge, this overview of the industry as a whole, as opposed to sort of just the traditional publishing or just the self-publishing. You understand both, and you understand that the sort of hybrid model, the partnership publishing model, in the middle as well, which is which is fascinating stuff. And it's I think as things are developing, all the time. And you mentioned HTML5 publishing. That's going to change things when that becomes more mainstream, as you say, when there's a sort of easy platform for people to use that. So lots of really fascinating things going on, and great to get your insights into that. So, Chris, thank you very much for coming on the show.
My great pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
Cheers, Chris. Bye-bye.